Welcome to Not a Roofers podcast, where we discuss roofing
without all the jargon. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Charity.
And this is today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Not a Roofers podcast. Today we are on the second part of our flashings mini series, I guess I'll call it. And we'll be talking about the other 6 flashing types that we didn't get to last time, as well as the signs that there is problems with the flashing and what they are caused by today. So we will get into that.
So just as a very quick recap, we discussed continuous flashing, step flashing, drip edges, valley flashing, base flashing, and counter flashing on Monday. If you did not listen to that episode, go take a quick listen. We'll wait.
You can pause us and come back later.
You can. And so today we will be discussing vent pipe flashings, cap flashings, chimney flashings, saddle flashings, skylights, and kickout flashings. So just to note that some of these flashings, and we will discuss which ones, are considered counter flashings that we discussed on Monday.
Okay, so we will start with vent pipe flashing, and it is a cone-shaped piece of flashing that is installed over pipes to cover them. This is one that would be considered counter flashing.
So then we come up to cap flashing, which is an L-shaped flashing that lies against the roof or other items such as windows. And it prevents any water from pooling in the cracks of those areas.
Okay, then we have chimney flashing. This is another type of counter flashing. Chimney flashing is obviously applied around the chimney, and it, of course, is meant to just seal up the places where water would try to get in around mostly the base of the chimney where the chimney meets the roof surface.
So saddle flashing is flashing that is used to cover the odd and end pieces that are coming up. So if you have a wall, the flashing goes over it, like a saddle would go over a horse. It goes over the wall to protect it. Or if there's any beams, again, the flashing goes over it like a saddle. Or if there's railings, it's just an extra piece of protection from leaking.
Then we have skylights, and we know that skylights aren't considered flashing, obviously. Skylights are very different, but skylights will have their own built-in flashing because I know Roofmedics has seen it before, and I'm sure other roofing companies too. Skylights tend to leak and cause leaks, and so they just have to have their own built-in flashing to protect the area around the edges of the skylight so that water doesn't come in. And it is its own type of flashing, but it also it also consists of other types of flashing as well. So, you might have a skylight, but then they might end up needing to put some counter flashing or other types of flashing around it. But it is a notable mention.
Yes. And then we have kickout flashing, and not every building or home will have kickout flashing because kickout flashing is special. And it is a special type of flashing used that bridges the gap between step flashing and a gutter. So if your building or home does not have gutters, it does not have kickout flashing. It's a special flashing that directs the water away from the wall of the building and runs the water into the gutter.
Got it. Okay, so that brings us to all 6 today. We'll just briefly mention them again. So we have vent pipe flashing, cap flashing, chimney flashing, saddle flashing, skylights, and kickout flashing. So in total, that'll be 12 types of flashing. And now we'll get into just, you know, what signs will there be that your, like any type of flashing is probably causing problems. So there are a couple. Like we said, flashing is made out of metal. So one sign that there might be a problem is that there are small holes in the flashing that are either caused by corrosion or wildlife. And you may be asking why wildlife, but in all of my researching, I found out that there are some woodpeckers that are known to peck at flashing, oddly enough.
Um, Raccoons are also known to peel back flashing and climb
Oh,
into the ceilings.
good to know. Good to know.
I feel like that's very much a warmer state thing. Like, I can't imagine a raccoon climbing into your roof in Wisconsin, but it was a thing in Florida. So,
Got it. So with the small holes, I did say corrosion. So if there's rust or corrosion on your flashing, it is likely that there could be problems. If you see that your flashing is missing a piece, that
please
is a
call
cause for
someone.
concern. If there are bends, cracks, or dents, of course, this can happen from anything strong winds to obviously, apparently now raccoons, um, dents from hail or anything like that. If you have internal leaks, of course, always call somebody, but it is possible that a leak is caused by your flashing not being how it should be. If there's mold or staining on the fascia boards, that is a likely sign that your flashing has a problem. Or if you have worn or damaged siding or shingles, that is another sign that your flashing probably needs to be taken care of. So, those are some signs, but all of these come back to, what causes all of these things. So, Charity, what causes flashing damage?
Well, I don't want to start and say that flashing damage is caused by human error right away. But, human error is a big thing. Like, if your flashing is not installed correctly, you already made it so that this flashing isn't going to last. Like, it happens, but poor installation and human error, it's a dangerous thing.
I mean, that's with anything that we've talked about, though. How it's installed, when it's installed, who's doing it, if they're trustworthy. It all comes back to, how good is the work?
True. However, there are some other things, not just human error or poor installation or poor repairs, like the age and the exposure will also wear down your flashing. Just like a roof needs to be repaired and eventually replaced, so does your flashing. Temperature changes, your house or building settling, the foundation will cause the flashing to also move, and then just winter problems. Heavy rains expose weak flashing, but then like ice and snow that's piled up on it can cause moisture to seep under the metal, the flashing to freeze, like whole strew of issues with winter issues.
Well, beyond that, I think we should also talk about how, I mean, down by you specifically, there's tornadoes, Tornado Alley. I'm sure that doesn't really help with flashings either. All that high wind and debris and everything that can really do damage to a roof in its entirety, but also the flashing. I mean, in some of the cases, the flashing is in a position where, wind can get underneath of it and really pull it apart. That is all we have on flashings. You should just note flashings are an important part of the roof. So is a lot of things, but flashings is a really big part of anything, which is why um, it is one of the things in the Roof Medics 5-point inspection that gets checked anytime that one of our technicians is on the roof, is because flashings are such a big part. And, you can usually catch damage pretty early on if you know what signs to look for. But with that being said, it is time for our definition of flashing, an overall generalized definition. Let's go.
Metal that protects your roof from water seepage in the crevices. We're not going with my definition.
I like the pieces of metal designed to protect the most
Delicate?
yeah, I was going to say fragile. The most delicate areas of a roofing system.
Aspects.
The most delicate aspects. So flashing is metal designed to protect the most delicate aspects of a roofing system. This might be one of my favorite definitions we've come up with.
We need to create our own dictionary of definitions. We should do it.
So that brings us to the end of our Flashings 2-part mini-series. We hope you learned something. As always, we would love for you to share our podcast with a friend or on your social media or whatever. You can also find Roofmedics on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I will put all those links below. And thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've been loving what you're hearing, make sure to press the subscribe button so you get notified anytime we post a new episode. Episodes come out on Monday and Fridays. Please feel free to share this podcast with a friend. We'd love everybody to be able to join us and learn more about the roofing industry as we go along on this journey. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I will put all of our information down in the show notes below. Feel free to contact us with any questions or any roofing ideas that you would love for us to talk about. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.